Hello, and welcome to Calm and Cozy Stories, a place where everyone can find calm and enchantment beneath the soft glow of the moon, right before drifting off to sleep. Tonight, we invite you on another journey through a captivating story, one that helps cultivate a sense of peace and relaxation. Before we begin, let's take a moment to gently prepare our bodies and minds for a soothing, restorative rest. Make yourself comfortable, and with each slow inhale and long exhale, allow the cares of the day to gradually slip away. It's not always simple to detach from the day's busyness, especially when bedtime approaches. But keep in mind, the less we worry about falling asleep, the easier it is for the mind to release tension. Let the steady rhythm of your breathing carry off any remaining worries, and let the story you're about to hear guide you into deep relaxation. Now, settle in and allow the moonlit atmosphere to softly embrace you. Enjoy this story, and may you drift into peaceful, restful slumber here on Calm and Cozy Stories. Lara surfaced slowly from sleep, drawn upward by the faint, faraway lament of gulls and the gentle insistence of early sun warming her face. A luxurious stretch rippled through her limbs as she rolled onto her back, the ceiling swimming into focus, followed by the blissful remembrance. Vacation. Her watch, retrieved from the small bedside table, confirmed the early hour. Sleep had been profound, uninterrupted, leaving her rested and receptive to the languid day unfolding before her. The little inn still slumbered, it seemed. She might have believed herself the sole soul stirring, but for the soft click of a latch down the corridor, succeeded by the whisper-light tread of footsteps descending the stairs. Another early riser, moving with considerate stealth. A smile touched Ilara's lips. This quietude, this gentle awakening, felt like the perfect overture to the day. Swinging her legs from beneath the cloud-like white comforter, she sat up, her feet meeting the broad, smooth planks of the old wooden floor. She could feel the glossy paint beneath her toes, worn to a silken finish by more than a century of passage. Ilara rose, stretched again, and drifted to the window. Her room surveyed the inn's charming facade. Across the quiet street stood a line of venerable houses, their generous porches inviting repose. Flags fluttered from a few, crisp in the morning breeze. Bicycles leaned here and there. Ilara spotted one of those comfortable, vintage-style cruisers, often seen near the shore, painted perhaps in cheerful yellow or whimsical pink. Gazing outward, she watched surfers amble away from the ocean's edge, their vibrant boards tucked under their arms. Doubtless they'd greeted the dawn, already having danced with the waves for hours. Dripping, they radiated a contented exhaustion as they headed back towards their cars, likely anticipating a substantial breakfast. Shifting her view, Ilara peered sideways at the inn itself, admiring its bay windows and the exuberant spill of petunias from festive flower boxes. The porch below beckoned, arranged with rocking chairs and small tables, perfectly sized for a steaming mug or a sweating glass of lemonade. One guest already occupied this haven, lost in blissful solitude behind a newspaper, a curl of steam rising from his nearby coffee. Elira mentally bookmarked the porch for a later interlude of relaxation. She and her friend Maya were scheduled to meet for breakfast when the inn's restaurant opened. Maya occupied another cozy room just down the hall. This seaside escape had been a spontaneous decision, born from a mutual yearning for a change of pace, a different horizon. Now, enveloped in the tranquility of this small enclave, Ilara knew their impulsive choice had been inspired. It was a wonderfully sleepy spot. Just the inn, a peaceful neighborhood grid, and a simple roadside stand offering snacks, coffee, and sundries. The inn itself was an elder statesman, rooted here long before the surrounding homes gradually materialized over decades. With the vibrant city a mere 20-minute drive away, the bustle of shops and extensive conveniences had never encroached upon this haven. The inn thoughtfully provided essentials like umbrellas, chairs, and beach toys. Its restaurant offered sustenance, even packing lunches for beach excursions. What more could a vacationer truly desire? The profound peace of this hidden corner was a treasure worth any perceived trade-off. Ilara unzipped her canvas weekender, extracting items for the shore. A particular delight settled over her. The prospect of breakfast, clad in comfortable beach attire. There existed a unique liberation in dressing purely for leisure. She yearned to feel the warm sand yielding beneath her toes. The forecast promised flawless conditions for a day by the sea. After brushing her teeth and smoothing her hair, Ilara laid her beach tote upon the bed. Into it went her current novel, sunglasses, lip balm, and a water bottle. Ready, with minutes still to spare before meeting Maya, she decided on an early foray downstairs to the coffee station. Picking up her key, attached to a diamond-shaped plastic fob bearing her room number, she stepped into the corridor, quietly securing the weathered white door behind her. The hallway's painted white floors mirrored those in her room, stretching the length of the narrow passage, lending the space a clean, luminous quality. Staircases descended at either end. Between the room doors hung vintage prints, evocative scenes of beachgoers from bygone eras in charmingly archaic bathing costumes, and one striking antique illustration of a lobster. Ilara chose the longer route, walking the hall's full extent before descending the far stairs into the lobby. The front desk stood unattended. A small bell rested upon it, an invitation for immediate service, though Ilara hadn't witnessed its use since her arrival. Haste had no place here. Slipping into the well-appointed coffee station, she selected a mug, filling it with a dark, aromatic brew from the dispenser. A tentative sip drew an appreciative nod. The inn brewed excellent coffee. Only moments remained before Maya would appear. Pushing open the screen door, Ilara stepped onto the spacious porch. The man with the newspaper had vanished. The expanse was hers alone. She settled into a wicker chair, placed her mug on an adjacent table, and leaned back gently. Even at this hour, the air was balmy, caressing, A soft breeze stirred, lifting stray tendrils of hair from her ponytail. She felt she could drift into a nap right there, linger all day, yet the beach whispered its insistent invitation. A few minutes later, the screen door creaked open, and Maya's head appeared. "Morning," she greeted. "Ready for breakfast?" Together, they navigated towards the inn's restaurant. The host welcomed them with genuine warmth, leading them to the screened porch flanking the building. Ilara and Maya were thrilled to secure a cozy table for two nestled in a sun-drenched corner. Their server poured ice water from a charming carafe centered on the table, took their orders, and promised a swift return. While awaiting their meal, the two friends studied a paper copy of the takeout menu. Lunch on the sand was a certainty, requiring careful selection. Options ranged appealingly from chilled sandwiches to boardwalk classics like grilled cheese and hot dogs. Ilara settled on a lobster roll with mayonnaise. Maya chose chicken salad. One of Ilara's enduring joys of beach days was the heightened deliciousness of lunchtime fare. Something about the sun, the salt air, the sheer relaxation amplified every flavor. She eagerly anticipated that first bite of lobster roll after hours by the waves. As they ate, other diners gradually filled the surrounding tables. A family nearby recounted yesterday's beach escapades with cheerful animation. Other tables seemed occupied by couples, enjoying a retreat, or old friends on a weekend reunion. The atmosphere hummed with relaxed contentment. Shorts, sun hats, and flip-flops were the prevailing uniform. Having finished their bagels, freshly squeezed orange juice, and fruit, Ilara and Maya pushed back their chairs, gathering their beach totes. They were poised for the brief stroll to the water, ready to claim their perfect patch of sand. Passing back through the lobby and onto the front porch, they availed themselves of the inn's complimentary beach gear. Maya selected an umbrella. Ilara chose two lightweight beach chairs, easily slung over a shoulder via convenient straps. They descended the front steps, merging with the gentle flow of people meandering towards the surf. The neighborhood, utterly devoid of sidewalks, exuded tranquility. Residents simply emerged from their houses, carrying necessities for the 5-minute pilgrimage to the sand. It was all so effortless. Ilara marveled again at the sheer bliss of staying so intimately close to the ocean. Their location transformed the entire experience. Within minutes, the friends reached the steps leading down to the sand, an inviting golden ribbon unfurling before them. Fortuitously, the tide was low, granting the beach its most generous breadth for the time being. Children, arriving with parents, instantly shed their sand pails and raced towards the water's edge. Their parents chuckled, scanning the sand for spots likely safe from the encroaching tide, at least until early afternoon. Taking cues from the sand's texture, Ilara and Maya followed suit, planting their umbrella where the sand was dry and soft, not damp and tide-smoothed, an area untouched by recent high water. Traveling light, just the two of them, they were quickly established, umbrella angled, chairs positioned to face the gently glittering surf. Leaning back, Ilara released a profound sigh, closing her eyes. The rhythmic murmur of waves drifted soothingly across the sand, punctuated by the occasional distant cry of a gull. A light breeze carried the invigorating scent, the elusive taste of salt. She wished she could freeze this moment. This was perfection. For several minutes, they sat in companionable silence, absorbing the wonder of the place. Then, easy conversation flowed for a time. Eventually, both Ilara and Maya retrieved their novels, a mutual understanding passing between them. Now was the time to become lost in printed worlds. Around them, fellow beachgoers settled into their own rhythms. A nearby family commenced construction on an elaborate sandcastle, their small children making countless earnest trips to the surf, fetching bucketfuls of water to fill the moat, oblivious to the sand's thirsty absorption. The fetching itself was the joy. A young couple tossed a frisbee, their dog leaping joyfully between them, striving to intercept the soaring red disc. When the frisbee occasionally flew astray, another beach visitor would cheerfully retrieve and return it, often pausing to inquire about petting the dog, who seemed eager to befriend every soul on the sand. There was no boardwalk here, no advertising banners trailing from airplanes, no hum of nearby traffic. This beach truly felt like a sweet, cherished secret kept from the wider world. In this languid manner, time dissolved unnoticed. Ilara wasn't sure how long she'd read before realizing the sun stood high overhead, and she drifted asleep, her book resting open in her lap. Stirring, she glanced at Maya, who regarded her with a smile over the top of her own book. The exact hour was a mystery, but Ilara knew one thing with certainty. She was ready for that lobster roll. They opened their bag, unwrapping lunch with anticipation, nestling cold water bottles into the sand beside them, tearing open bags of potato chips with a satisfying crackle. The tide had crept closer since their arrival. Children who had been boundless bundles of energy hours ago now drifted towards the shade of parental tents and umbrellas, claiming midday snacks. Ilara noticed a mother nearby, a baby sleeping peacefully across her lap. The sea air possessed a unique duality, simultaneously refreshing and profoundly soporific. The lobster roll and chicken salad sandwich were soon devoured. Both, Ilara and Maya agreed, were excellent. Dusting stray crumbs from her lap, Ilara stood. "Going to dip my toes in," she announced to Maya, who nodded understandingly. Hours under the sun made the sparkling water utterly irresistible. Ilara wandered down to the waveline, watching her feet as the surf slid up the beach, engulfing her ankles. The water was deliciously chilly, a perfect counterpoint to the accumulated warmth of the sun. Bending, she splashed the frigid water onto her shoulders and the back of her neck. Shielding her eyes, she surveyed the activity in the water. A woman floated nearby on an inner tube, casually eating an ice cream sandwich. Now that, Ilara thought with a grin, is inspired. She stood, observing the wet sand beneath her feet as water washed in, paused, then receded. revealing fleeting traces of some glittery, golden substance mixed within the grains, visible only underwater. It was quite pretty. Strolling along the surf's edge, she reached a rocky outcrop teeming with tide pools. Balancing carefully on the uneven surfaces, she peered into the trapped pockets of seawater, watching minuscule hermit crabs scuttle about their miniature worlds. Children knelt nearby, absorbed in closer inspection. One suddenly scrambled up, running back towards his parents on the dry sand, eager to report his thrilling discovery. Looking up from the pools, Ilara saw Maya, now appearing small and distant back at their spot. She slowly retraced her steps along the advancing tide line until she reached their umbrella and sank back into her chair. Picking up her book once more, Ilara noticed Maya had dozed off and smiled inwardly. Even that short amble along the shore had renewed her desire to simply sit and be still. As the afternoon deepened, time seemed to suspend itself. Ilara frequently looked up from her novel, pleasantly lost in thought. She watched a man skillfully flying a vibrant kite, observed the steady growth of the nearby sandcastle fortress. Some of the children she'd seen running tirelessly earlier now slept soundly in the shade beside their parents. A few surrounding families began the slow process of departure, shaking sand from buckets, filling in excavated holes, collapsing colorful chairs. The tide, relentlessly turning, now lapped much closer to where they sat. When Maya stirred from her nap, Ilara confessed to feeling rather warm and, surprisingly, hungry again. Maya readily agreed it might be an opportune moment to retreat to the inn for a snack and to prepare for dinner. Gathering their belongings and the borrowed beach equipment, Ilara and Maya slipped on their flip-flops and ascended the stone steps leading back to the street. Up top, the late afternoon pulsed with activity. Not only were numerous beachgoers packing up and heading inland, but the yards of the houses fronting the street buzzed with life. At one sprawling home, a family engaged in a light-hearted game of croquet. Next door, preparations were underway for an outdoor meal, a table being set while children tumbled in and out of the house. Some youngsters looked freshly bathed and dressed for dinner. Others, still gloriously sandy in bathing suits, were likely awaiting their turn, chasing each other through the yard with dripping popsicles. Soon, Ilara and Maya arrived back at the inn, gratefully depositing the umbrella and chairs on the porch. After a thorough dusting, they carefully stacked the borrowed items where they'd found them, leaving them ready for the next guests. Stepping into the lobby, they were met with a delightful surprise. Afternoon coffee hour was in full swing. Not only were hot beverages and iced lemon water available, but trays of warm chocolate chip cookies lay invitingly arranged, each nestled in its own paper sleeve. Ilara selected one that looked particularly promising, smiling as she slid it free and took a bite. The cookie was soft, generously studded with large crystals of white sugar, the semi-sweet chips perfectly gooey. Sinking into two plush, easy chairs in the lounge area, Ilara and Maya grinned at each other, savoring their cookies in contented silence. The perfect morsel to bridge the gap until their late dinner reservation. They watched the ebb and flow of people through the lobby for a while, Some exchanged warm greetings. Others approached the desk attendant with queries. After a bit, Mia suggested they part ways temporarily to rest and freshen up in their respective rooms. An evening stroll through the neighborhood at twilight before dinner sounded like an excellent plan. In single file, they climbed the old wooden staircase. Reaching the upper landing, they diverged, agreeing to reconvene in the lobby shortly. Ilara slid her key, with its familiar plastic fob, into the lock. It turned with a satisfying clunk, and the door swung inward. Her room welcomed her, sun pouring through the window, the bed a soft mountain of white linens. A sigh of pure happiness escaped her. After tidying up for dinner, Ilara curled into the decadent orange velvet chair positioned by the window. From this regal perch, she watched people strolling along the street below. The petunias in the window box nodded cheerfully in the breeze. She observed the diverse streams of people heading homeward from their own late afternoon pursuits. A nap, perhaps, a game, or simply a chat with friends. Leaning her head against the chair back, she took several slow, deep breaths. She couldn't recall the last time she had felt so utterly relaxed. Without conscious intent, Ilara drifted into a light doze. She awoke to the gentle flutter of her white curtains against the backdrop of the setting sun. A glance at her watch revealed she hadn't slept long. She was perfectly on time to meet Maya. Rising and stretching, she slowly circled the room, collecting her small purse and key. Then, she slipped quietly into the hallway, locking her door just as Maya emerged from her own room a few doors down, doing likewise. Together, they descended to the lobby. The coffee station remained, but the cookies had vanished, cleared in preparation for the dinner service. Peeking into the restaurant, Ilara saw servers arranging tables and seating the first diners of the evening. Their walk would prime them perfectly for a leisurely meal. As they pushed through the swinging screen door onto the porch, the faint, musical clink of water glasses drifted from within the inn. Turning towards the beach, they were greeted by a sky ablaze with pink and orange, a spectacular sunset. Many neighbors were out in their yards, witnessing the celestial display. As Ilara and Maya ambled down the street, they found themselves captivated by the vignettes unfolding at each house. The homes themselves were charmingly disparate, each reflecting its owner's taste and the era of its construction. A humble Cape Cod with a slanted roof and quaint shutters might sit beside a sleek contemporary structure boasting vast expanses of glass, which in turn might neighbor a traditional farmhouse-style home with a broad, welcoming porch. Many yards featured tables and outdoor furniture, clear evidence of frequent alfresco dining. In one yard, they saw a woman relaxing with a little girl in a hammock. At this hour, with dusk settling and houses illuminated from within, windows thrown open wide, glimpses of indoor life were easily caught. People sipping drinks on couches, gathered around cheese boards, even someone playing a piano. At one home, a pile of sand toys dried near the garage, while a man played catch with two small girls in the front garden. Dogs pranced excitedly behind picket fences. What a fine life for a dog, Elara mused. She noticed more and more people emerging to set up luminaries along their driveways. White paper bags weighted with sand, each cradling a lit candle in its center. Some homes opted instead for white string lights draped around trees and fences. Maya recalled seeing a flyer mentioning that today was designated the Night of White Lights, explaining the festive illuminations. Elara found it utterly charming. The street glowed beautifully. Their walk eventually led them along a stretch paralleling the beach. The tide, having peaked while they rested, was now receding again. Figures could be seen scattered along the sand, couples and small groups who had seemingly wandered from evening gatherings to admire the moon or toss toys for energetic dogs. Elara loved that most appeared to have strolled the block or two, completely barefoot. Returning to the inn, Elara and Maya marveled at their perfect timing. Re-entering the lobby, they waited patiently for the restaurant host to guide them to their reserved table. The atmosphere inside the spacious dining room was enchanting now. Votive candles flickered on every table, and the 2 screened porches flanking the room held diners leaning intimately over their meals, engaged in quiet conversation. Elara and Maya were shown to a snug table in a nook, perfectly positioned to feel the warm evening breezes drifting past. Perusing the menus, they faced a delightful dilemma. Offerings catered to every palate: fresh seafood, pastas, wood-fired pizzas, and more. After careful consideration, Elara chose a seafood pasta, while Maya opted for pizza. Both dishes proved sublime, perfectly satisfying after a long day spent largely inert by the sea. Why, Elara pondered idly, did simply sitting in the sand induce such profound hunger? It remained one of life's pleasant mysteries. They concluded their meal by sharing a slice of cheesecake. Elara made a point of savoring each mouthful, carefully slicing off small portions with her fork, relishing the dessert's rich creaminess. Once the cheesecake was finished, they both had to concede they were truly ready for bed. Full, content, and more relaxed than either could remember being in a very long time. The 2 friends thanked their server and the host, then walked with deliberate slowness back into the lobby. The sole occupant now was the nighttime desk attendant, efficiently clearing the last vestiges of the coffee service and preparing the station for the morning rush. She turned and offered them a warm smile. "Did you enjoy your dinner?" she inquired. They both nodded affirmation, assuring her it had been wonderful, and it truly had. Elara and Maya each poured a fresh glass of water from the drink dispenser before heading upstairs, parting ways on the landing with mutual wishes for a good night. They knew this marvelous day would linger long in their memories. Back within the sanctuary of her room, Elara sank gratefully into the embrace of her large, soft bed. Gazing around with appreciation, she reflected on the profound loveliness of the place. Thanks to the balmy night, her windows remained open, admitting the occasional murmur of conversation or the whir of a bicycle passing on the street below. Propping herself against a mound of white pillows, she angled her book into the golden pool cast by the bedside lamp. The silence within the room felt absolute, as though she occupied a tiny, peaceful cocoon, drifting serenely through the seaside world outside. She had entertained notions of finishing her novel, but soon her eyelids grew heavy. Realizing sleep was imminent, Ilara set her book aside for the morrow. She flattened the pillows, reached over, and extinguished the lamp. Turning onto her side, she gazed drowsily at the sliver of moonlight, painting a path across the white floorboards. In the darkness, everything here seemed rendered in gold and white, she thought, already half submerged in slumber. The salty breeze stirred her curtains once more. As she slipped into sweet dreams, Ilara heard the distant, rhythmic sigh of the surf meeting the sand. Then she slept. Good night. Tonight begins within the sanctuary of your own repose. Perhaps the day's currents carried you through the sun-drenched landscapes of Italian Renaissance artistry, your thoughts snagged by a singular masterpiece, Sandro's Primavera, a vision etched in tempera upon wood, born sometime between the waning 1470s and the dawn of the 1480s. Its scale is grand, a canvas stretching nearly 7 feet high and 10 across, a testament to Alessandro di Mariano Filippi. Sandro, the Florentine luminary celebrated in the Renaissance zenith. After lending his genius to the Pope's Sistine Chapel, his focus shifted, drawn to the potent allure of myth. Centuries hence, it is these very works, the birth of Venus, alongside Primavera, that echo his name most profoundly. Primavera, especially, resonates, a tapestry woven with symbols plucked from nature's lexicon and ancient lore. This vibrant tableau of spring lingers, a fresh imprint on the mind's eye as slumber beckons. You drift into that hazy threshold, the space betwixt wakefulness and dream, where the crisp edges of reality soften and blur. Before you, Primavera materializes, suspended against an ornate wall, encased in a gilded wooden frame. It hangs alone in this lavish chamber, commanding sole attention. Drawn closer, you approach, seeking intimacy with the scene. The painting looms large, its inhabitants rendered life-size. Your gaze inevitably finds Cytherea, the heart of the composition. She stands, the Roman embodiment of love, allure, fecundity, and fortune. Though 8 other figures share her world, the path to her is clear, unobstructed. Her hair cascades, a river of spun gold. Her form, generously curved, is draped in royal blue and swathed in deepest crimson. Beauty personified. You look upon her, and an uncanny sense finds purchase. She seems to meet your stare directly. Her right hand lifts, palm open, a gesture of welcome. You hesitate, a flicker of doubt. Did imagination conjure the motion? But then the gesture repeats, accompanied this time by a subtle, knowing wink. Another step you take, towards the painted surface, and the pigments deepen. The textures gain dimension, the entire scene stirring as if imbued with breath. Cytherea extends her hand, a tangible warmth reaching across the divide, and pulls you gently inward. Suddenly, you stand within a meadow efflorescent, a riot of blossoms unfurling beneath your feet. Hundreds of varieties bloom, pinks, scarlets, golds, ivories, some familiar, others utterly strange and wondrous. Cytherea smiles, her gesture inviting you to drink in the spectacle. Delicate flowers push through emerald grasses, studding the foreground with vibrant punctuation. The air itself is perfumed, thick with the unmistakable fragrance of springtide. Rose and jasmine mingle with lavender, violet, and lily. Sunlight, warm and benevolent, bathes the scene. The sky is an immaculate azure canvas. If ever an archetype of spring existed, surely this is its purest form. Closing your eyes for a beat, you allow the profound beauty to saturate your senses, drawing in a slow, deep, tranquil breath, releasing it fully. Eyes open once more, your attention turns to the figures assembled before you. Their identities are known to you, the narrative they enact familiar. Commissioned by the illustrious Magnificos, whispered to be a wedding gift for young Laurentius, a scion of that powerful Florentine banking dynasty which steered the city's fortunes through the 15th century. Primavera once graced the couple's bedchamber, a silent benediction above their rest, an allegory of spring, of life's resurgence. It speaks of union, fertility, transformation. Allegory, an image dense with symbols, characters, and objects, demanding decipherment to unveil a deeper truth. Now, immersed within the scene, its story feels less interpreted, more intrinsically understood. You recall Sandro, the artist whose deft portraiture secured the patronage of the mighty Magnificos, a master weaver of mythological threads, inspired equally by classical texts, ancient sculpture, and the era's fervent quest for idealized human grace. Legend whispers of his unrequited love for a local beauty, her tumbling golden curls and elegant contours immortalized, some say, in every female form within this painted world. You observe the sinuous grace of the women surrounding you, how their postures infuse the composition with a silent music. Save for Cytherea's steady, outward gaze, all others exist in captured motion, a testament to Sandro's extraordinary skill in rendering the human figure from myriad perspectives. While the foreground bursts with light and burgeoning life, the backdrop recedes into darker tones. Beyond the figures lies a grove, dense with orange trees, interwoven with laurel, myrtle, and other verdure. Each plant, you know, carries its own symbolic weight. Oranges, an emblem of the Magnifico lineage. Laurel, echoing victory and Laurentius's own name in Italian resonance. Botanists, indeed, have meticulously identified over 500 distinct species of flora captured within this single artwork. Moving towards the orange grove, a cool zephyr greets you, bearing the delightful tang of fresh citrus. As the breeze quickens, stirring the air, your gaze lifts to the painting's far right, where Favonius descends. He is the west wind, spring's herald, emerging from the arboreal shadows to claim the nymph, Anthea, as his bride. She appears ethereal in a gossamer gown, a vine flowering impossibly from her lips. In Favonius's embrace, she undergoes metamorphosis, becoming Viridia, Roman goddess of blossoms, the very spirit of spring. Viridia stands poised between her former self and Cytherea, clad in a flowing robe intricately patterned with flowers. Her arms cradle gathered roses, which she scatters onto the grass below. Each handful drifts, petals billowing softly before settling upon the earth, an offering signifying both the season's awakening and the promise of new life. A crown and necklace woven from flowers adorn her, Her sleeves shimmer, seemingly crafted from dragonfly wings. Golden scales trace her forearms, and decorative plumes fan where these gilded wings meet the silken fabric above. The sheer artistry, the intricate detail lavished upon Viridia's attire, leaves you breathless. Now, you perceive the first three figures on the right, Favonius, Anthea, Viridia, as a unified triad representing spring's inception, another deep inhalation, a full exhalation. You contemplate the symbolism of this nascent season, the burgeoning flora, the figure's transformation. It is a vivid portrayal of growth, of becoming. Witnessing it so intimately reveals the profound richness, the complex layering of symbol and allegory woven into this masterpiece. The Renaissance, a high season for art, where painting, literature, and philosophy converged. It marked a deliberate return to classical ideals, a striving to perceive beauty in all things. It was also an era championing humanism alongside divinity. The Magnificos, prodigious patrons, famously commissioned works steeped in pagan themes rather than solely religious narratives. This inclination finds its focus in the painting's central figure, Cytherea. She occupies the composition's heart, positioned slightly back and elevated from the foreground figures. Her direct gaze confirms her pivotal role. Behind her, the trees part, forming an arch reminiscent of a halo, or perhaps an arboreal apse, that semicircular recess, often framing depictions of the Virgin Mary in sacred art. Mary, too, is frequently shown in red and blue, mirroring Cytherea's attire here. This interplay of Christian and pagan iconography is a hallmark of the Renaissance. Within Primavera, Cytherea embodies love, beauty, and marriage, while Viridia represents nascent love, potential, the tender beginnings of spring. Cytherea signifies motherhood, the season in its full embodied bloom. Hovering above Cytherea flies her son, Desiderio, a winged cherub, blindfolded. In classical myth, he governs desire, attraction, affection. His arrow is drawn, aimed squarely at an impurity, laying one of the Monte de Three Charities bust to the left. The blindfold serves as a visual echo of the adage, "Love is blind." Just left of Cytherea and Desiderio dance the Three Charities: splendor, purity, and amity. Each wears diaphanous, flowing garments that reveal their elegant forms. Their fingers interlace at three distinct points as they move in a circle, a composition suggesting continuity, rhythm, harmony. It also brilliantly showcases Sandro's artistry, depicting the sisters from three different viewpoints, mimicking sculpture, yet retaining a palpable sense of fluidity and grace. The Charities were a beloved motif drawn from contemporary literature. Viewers of Primavera would have readily recognized their story. From right to left, Splendor, the most ornamented, wears a crown of pearls, symbolizing purity, and an elegant golden pendant, her gaze turned back towards Favonius. In the center stands Purity, looking towards the god. Alatus, unadorned by jewelry. On the left is Amity. Together, they symbolize classical feminine virtues and the unfolding stages of love. Gazing upon them, you feel a profound sense of concord, a visual melody. It strikes you as fascinating how these three distinct figures coalesce into a single symbolic entity. Primavera, as a whole, seems a meditation on the multifaceted nature of beauty and femininity. So much transpires within this single frame, yet beauty and vitality pulse as undeniable, overarching currents. The figure positioned furthest left is the god Alatus. His posture evokes Michelangelo's famed David. Alatus is attired in winged sandals, a crimson robe, a helmet, and carries a sword. His right arm reaches skyward, wielding his caduceus to gently disperse gathering clouds, thus ensuring the persistence of eternal spring. His gaze is directed heavenward, away from the other figures. In Roman mythology, this deity served as divine messenger, also presiding over medicine, commerce, abundance, and prosperity. Within this painting, Alatus is interpreted as symbolizing the young Laurentius. It's even suggested Laurentius himself modeled for the god. Similarly, Viridia is thought to represent Laurentius's bride-to-be. Together, the three charities and Alatus signify the culmination of spring, its later phase. Having contemplated each figure, absorbed their individual stories and collective symbolism, you take a step back, closing your eyes once more. Awe washes over you, the sheer beauty unfolding all around, this unique privilege of stepping inside a celebrated work of art, witnessing its vibrant animation, the intoxicating scents of rose, lily, and countless other blossoms fill the air, delightful, inspiring. The profusion of flowers and fruit, the lush green carpet underfoot, the leafy canopy above. It crafts a veritable paradise. A gentle breeze caresses your skin. You realize Viridia has just scattered another handful of petals near your feet. Delicate pink rose petals now blanket the earth around you. Above, Alatus nudges another stray cloud aside, ensuring the sun's uninterrupted blessing upon the scene. You watch the three charities twirl in harmonious grace, their steps light upon the petal-strewn ground, silken gowns and golden tresses stirred by the breeze. Desiderio hovers, arrow nocked, while purity dances on, blissfully unaware. The mingled fragrances of orange blossom, fresh grass, sweet flowers, and pungent laurel drift around you. It possesses the ethereal quality of a dream, exquisitely beautiful. Your eyes meet Cytherea's one last time. You offer silent thanks for her welcome into this vibrant realm. A profound appreciation settles within you for the intricate messages conveyed through this masterfully orchestrated narrative. The seamless weaving of symbols from literature, philosophy, classical antiquity, the profound rumination on beauty in its diverse manifestations, love's transformative power, the subtle allusions to the powerful patrons who brought this vision forth, the radiant deployment of color, the expertly balanced composition. You appreciate the depicted transitions, winter yielding to spring, maiden evolving to bride and then mother, the symbolic resonance between Cytherea and Mary, the translation of literary themes into visual poetry, the metamorphoses throughout the painting pulse with spring's quintessential energy, new life, boundless potential, growth, becoming, sheer beauty. This is the season of rebirth, yearned for through long winter nights, finally captured here in its consummate glory. Such depth resides within this single canvas, such fertile ground for contemplation. Small wonder it stands as a crowning achievement of the entire Renaissance. You sit for a quiet moment, allowing these reflections to integrate, settling into mind and heart. A wish forms to linger here indefinitely, inhabiting this perfect spring day, forever witnessing beauty and love dance before you. Cytherea catches your gaze again, a silent assurance passing between you. You may return whenever you wish. You are welcome here. This idyllic scene remains accessible, held within the gallery of your mind. Offering her silent gratitude for this kindness, you decide to stay just a little longer. Finding a comfortable spot, you lie back upon the meadow grass, enveloped by the sweet perfume of living flowers. The earth beneath is soft, yielding. The sun bestows a gentle, pervasive warmth upon your skin. Your body surrenders to the ground's embrace, relaxing more deeply with each breath. Viridia tosses another cascade of roses nearby as you ease further into rest. Tension dissolves, melting away. You feel utterly safe here, accepted, inspired. Now is the time for sleep, for rejuvenation, for repose within the most beautiful, celestial spring garden imaginable. The dream images forming in your mind are serene, peaceful, as you drift softly, completely into slumber. Good night.